Welcome to the Ronda Conger show. It's a thing. You have to know that I'm so glad you're here. Grab a pen and paper. I'm here to fill your tank. Let's go. So I had the pleasure of speaking at Boise State University and Women in Leadership Conference last week. Amazing groups. I had two groups. They were amazing. And what came out of it, though, was a ton of questions that I wasn't able to get to. And they were really good questions because these were really smart people. So we decided today we'd kind of go Q&A format. And I have to tell you, I brought in a moderator. That's kind of fun.
Whoop, whoop.
Tara Kristensen is in the house.
Hey, girl, hey.
So if you don't know Tara Kristensen, you should. So she's been with me for 19 years and running. Wow, as my personal cheerleader, am I blessed or what? She makes it rain every single day. People always ask me, how are you so successful? How do you get everything done? And I will tell you, an integral part is Tara Kristensen. So I'm excited today to bring her on the show. These questions are amazing. I want to get to them. They're on the fly. They're knee-jerk. I want it to be authentic. I want it to be real. So let's get to it. Are you ready, TBK?
I'm ready. Okay, so our first question is, what would you recommend to do if someone doesn't have a spouse that encourages them or has their own self-motivation?
Wow, you're just going in like, get me. Okay, so your spouse, I kind of have this rule that you have to grow together and you have to read together, watch together, learn together. So I kind of question, where are you as a couple on that journey? And do you kind of need to do a reset or a stop and say, hey, I want us to be amazing together. I want us to hit our bucket list items together, have big goals, have big visions, learn together. So do you kind of need to stop and reset as a couple and sit down and say, where are you going? Where am I going? And how do we go together? That would be my first question, because that's really important to me that Conger, my hot as sin husband, that we are constantly growing together. We're talking about what we're reading, what we're watching, what we're doing, conferences that we're going to, so that I really feel like in life as spouses, soulmates, teams, that you have to do this together. So if you're not already naturally doing that, please stop and kind of hit the reset button and sit down and have an honest and candid conversation about that.
Love it. Okay, question number 2. This is a good one. What can you do if your spouse doesn't want to go on dates, out to dinner, or spend time with you? He hates texts and calls. Yikes.
Hashtag yikes. Well, okay. A couple of thoughts to that. Isn't there like some test, and I think we've done it and taken it years ago, is it the, what's that test that you take to see what kind of person you are?
5 love languages?
5 love languages, yes. Okay, so first of all, I think you should take the 5 love languages, because obviously that's not his love language. So we've got to figure out what each other's love languages are. At the same time, there is a basic need, in my opinion, of all humans, that we need a connection. You're obviously married, so there's one connection, but we need at a deeper level. But let's figure out what his love languages are first. That was easy for me. Love languages are first, to kind of figure that out. And then at times, maybe even if that isn't his love language, I do feel like you need to sit down, stop, and say, hold on. Now that we know what each other's are, I may need more, and can we compromise? Can we come together and say, can you at least toss me one text message? Can I at least call you once? Can we figure out a standing date night every week? Whatever it is, because that's what's going to make us better as a couple, longevity as a couple, and for me to be excited, and hopefully you'll grow that way too. And I know that's hard, but I think we've got to take a step back and say, what's our love languages? And then may have to compromise.
Love it. Okay, this one's a bit spicy. Brace for impact.
Oh boy.
How often do you and your hot husband have sex, and do you have to plan it?
Holy! Okay. So first of all, this is a family show. And the other thing, could you imagine the horror if my children are listening to this podcast? So let's just put it this way. Let's keep it clean, sailors. I appreciate the question. Here's what I do know. that sex is an integral part of your marriage. And I firmly believe that you need to have a lot of it. How about that? It's important. You have to have a connection. And I think that sometimes, again, I always talk about, when I talk about marriage, that whatever you did when you first started courting each other and how excited you were about each other, let's go there again. Let's make sure that that stays. You know, my husband says the secret to our success is 25 years marriage is that he's never stopped courting me. He worked just as hard to get me as he does to keep me. And so I kind of ask you that. And I think even sex, that part of your marriage, that should fall in that same realm, that I'm hoping that you're still in the honeymoon stage. How about that? That was a tough one. Wow.
I only blushed a little bit. Okay, let's switch over to some kid questions.
Oh, I love my kids. I love kids.
So, first one.
Okay.
Did you have it as together as you do today as when your kids were little?
Yes. 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 Here's why I say that. I think about this, and I think I showed a slide at the conference, and I talked about that for me, there's always been 3 bubbles in my life that all connect and make this happen. And obviously, it's myself is one of the bubbles, my husband is on the other bubble, and then the third bubble is help. And that help came in the form of sometimes a nanny, sometimes a family or friend member, sometimes in daycare/Montessori, after school care, whatever it is that I always knew that I wanted to do big things and I wanted to have a big life. And so that was going to take a lot of people in order to help this. I always knew that I wanted to have my sons, my children. And so in order to do that, I always made sure that I had help. So that is integral. Do not think you can do this all by yourself. I cannot. I'm very blessed with an amazing team, and a team at work and a team at home in order to pull all of this off. So I would say that, yes, I would tell you that the team made it so. My willingness to realize that I can't do everything and be all things to all people. So I think that's huge. I think the other thing I would say is planning. I have been planning my entire life. So I never left anything up to chance or craziness or anything, that I was always prepared and ready. And I think that was probably one of the biggest things that helped me stay organized, no matter whether my kids were 3 years old or my kids were 15 years old. None of that has changed for me. I run my ranch the same then as I do now.
Love it. Okay, next question. For new parents, what are your best tips for maintaining a healthy foundation into child raising?
You know, I'm pretty, I think of myself at times as a parent a little bit old school. Probably some people call me, maybe I'm not as hip as I should be or could be, but I kind of take pride in that. I think with parenting and kids need structure. Kids need a role model. Kids need guidance. Kids need love. And I think sometimes we get lost in that when we feel like they need to, they're a buddy, they're a friend of ours. I don't feel that way. My number one role was to give them structure and love and guidance, because I know that they're just growing and learning and changing every single day, and I wanted to keep them safe as well. I think about kids today. They have so many things coming at them from social media, and it's just the craziness of it all. So I run my ranch and my kids probably a little bit different than most. I think my children will tell you at times she's the strictest mom on the planet, with my expectations, with my standards, what I'll allow you to do and not do. So much so even in the fact, if you think of when they can date, when they can't, when they can have their phones, when they can't have their phones, curfews, I mean, all those type of things, is that I definitely believe that that's probably one of the things that's lacking, is that we treat kids as adults way too soon. So to me, I hope that you're giving them structure. I hope that you're one hell of a role model, that you're someone worth following with your attitude, with your actions, how you handle yourself. And I hope that you give them a ton of love. Those two, to me, are the 3 foundational things that I work on every single day and that are important to me.
Okay, last question.
I'm ready. Put me in. Let's do it.
In your last talk, you talked about the importance of your order. Will you please explain that?
Oh, yes. So a good friend of mine explained to me the order at a coffee. in one of my meetings, and I just fell in love with it. I realized it's how I live my life, and that's probably why it resonated so deeply with me. But I felt like it was such an easy way to keep your life on course and your priorities straight. So when we talk about the order, you have an order that you run your life by. And I feel like you have to understand, like at the very end here, let me back up for just a second. At the very end, I'm going to have you do this. I'm going to tell you my order, and then I'm going to give you some examples. And then I hope at the very end, we'll talk about how you're going to come up with your order, and then how you're going to audit and be self-aware of your order. Because your life goes south and gets out of balance. Things get a little wacky. Things get negative. Things get hard. You start to have issues when your order is not in the correct order. So let's talk about order. My order goes like this. First place for me is God. So that's my number one order. I always keep him first place. My number two order is my husband. Hold on. I always get yelled at when I do this. New number two is myself. That's always been hard for me. I'll be a little bit honest with you. And I'm putting self there because I need to work on my health, my fitness, those type of things. I kind of always let those slide down. And now I realize that those need to come on up, because I can't take care of anyone else or help or give or do anything else if I don't take care of myself first. If only you could see Tara nodding her head right now. She's like, yeah, sing it, sister. Amen. I can. Yeah, there we go.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. You need to see her nodding of her head right now. So back up. First place for me is God. Be clear. Number two is myself, which is health and fitness for me. Number three is my husband. My marriage is very, very important to me, because I feel like that then trickles into all areas of my life as well, because the next step would be my children. So if I'm not healthy, I can't have a good marriage, and I can't take care of my children, right? Or my spouse. So think about it that way. So myself, my husband, my children, my career. I'm telling you my order still. And then after my career, I would tell you my side hustle. Love my side hustle, which I'm doing right now. Better Human, the movement. And then after that, I would tell you whatever's left over. That's friends, family, whatever's left over, and I have time for, just depending. So what happens is when you think about that order, that if it gets off, and I'll use myself as an example to start with. I got a little off track with my health and my fitness. And so what happens is then that affects everything else, because maybe I don't have as much energy, or maybe I don't feel as good in order to do all those other things. So that's why I had to move that up first place, to make sure that I can keep everything running at the highest and best. Myself first, and then everything else will follow. The one thing, I'll give you a couple other examples. So when people come to me and they talk to me about their marriage, since we were just talking about marriage and kids, I always ask them, can you tell me what your order is? Can you tell me, where does your marriage fit in that list? So let's just say you prefer, you tell me that you go golfing every Saturday and Sunday, and you're not spending any time with your spouse and any time with your children, and then all week you're working. So I would tell you that your order goes work, golf, kids, spouse. And then I would ask you, how are your kids and spouse? Well, my wife is not happy with me. She never sees me. She just feels like I'm inattentive. Okay, well, then I'm going to say, well, ta-da, there you go. Or how about on the other side of the spectrum? I hear sometimes when I feel like as mothers, I think this is a natural thing that happens, that we get kids and they're all consuming and we love them and they're delicious and they're amazing. But then we put them first place. We put them above our we put them above our spouses. Or maybe we put them above other things. And I feel like at times, then I also know then that creates everything out of whack. So then you need to make sure, where are you placing your order? What's important to you? How should it look? To me, I firmly believe my order is a natural order. It really is. My husband does a great job of reminding me that he came first. Not the children. He came first. And there's some truth to that. And that's interesting, because if you look at me, I'm on this spectrum that says, I've got a 21-year-old who's in college and out the door, God bless him, doing great, amazing things. And then I've got a 17-year-old who's 1 year away. So if you think about it, they've been with us in our home for, 18 years, and then they're going to be gone. And, my Hottison husband and I have this whole future ahead of us that we're really excited about. And when I hear people say, I'm scared to be an empty nester, I'm scared to be with my husband every day, we don't have a lot in common, we don't do a lot, it's because you got out of touch during all those years because you put your kids first place. So we've worked really hard to stay together as a unit, as a team, and to keep our relationship first place so that we're actually really, really excited to be an empty nester. Like, we're going to partay and have a really good time. Even still, while we're incredibly close with our children, but we have an amazing bond that we're excited about this next thing. So again, I ask you, what is your order? I think the same thing can happen to people who work too much, and I try to balance that and watch that and keep my order straight. But let's use that example. If you spend all your days at work and work focus and doing everything, then that means your order, you put work first and everything else below it. So if your marriage isn't great, if your kids don't love you, don't be surprised because you put it before all of those things. So I want you, as part of this podcast, I hope that I'm always challenging you to be self-aware and to own your life. And to realize that you've chosen your life, you've chosen to put the things first that you've put first. And is that good news? Is that the life you want? I mean, I know that when I look at my order is based on the type of life that I want to have. I want to have a long life. I want to have a full life. I want to have an amazing marriage. I want to have kids that are delicious and that are thriving and being successful and super close to me. I want to have a career that's off the charts. I want to have a side hustle that impacts millions. And so in order to do that, I have to keep my order straight. And I have to keep my priorities and my actions in line, and I have to be aware of that at all times. So I think it's just another way of looking at your priorities and what's your order. So if you were to meet with me, I would ask you, show me your order, and does it match your actions? And are you living that life? Oh, we did it. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed those Q&As today. I love the questions. I love kind of even testing my own self. Like I said, this was completely on the fly today. It was my knee jerk. It's just kind of how I feel and what's in my heart, what's in my soul about all those topics. I love marriage. I love kids. I love your order. So here's your takeaway for today. I want you to really just stop for just a second. Either you can pull over to the side of the road. You can do it when you get to work. You can do it at home tonight with your family, with yourself, and really write down, what is your order? And maybe do two columns. The first column says, this is honestly and truthfully the order that I've been living right here, right now. Be honest and truthful with yourself. What is your order that you're living right now? And then draw a line on the other side of the paper. Say, this is the order that I should be living. This is the order that would make my life complete and full and successful and thriving and feel right and good and the way I want to live. And then I want you to then put next to that, what does that look like? What are the things that you're going to take out? What are the things that you're going to add in? What are the changes that you're going to make? Are you going to talk to your family about it, your career about it? What is going to change? I think one of the things that I love to say is that when something isn't working, please stop doing that. Go the complete opposite way. Audit yourself. And come up with some new actions, some new order. Thanks for hanging with me today. Man, I've loved every second of it. Give a huge shout out and love to TBK. She was in the house today. Thanks, sis. Love, love, love. Let's get out there. Let's go. So do you want more? Do you want more? Do you want to keep getting better? Do you want to grow? Do you want to change? Do you want to have the life that you dream and imagine? Okay, here's what I want to make sure that I offer up to you. Head on over to rondaconger.com. Don't you dare put an H in that name. Don't you dare. RONDACONGER.com. And I hope that you'll dive into my 3 books. The first book I wrote was Better Human, It's a Full-Time Job, because I'm far from done. I'm a full-time job, and I want to be better. So that was my first book. The second one is Better Thinking. Think better, be better. And that one's really just a fun kind of push you, my 50 quotes. There's a great story behind it. I hope that you read it. I hope that you share it with others. And then the third one that I just wrote is You Go First. Become the leader your team needs. We need you. I love that you're listening. I love that you want to grow. I hope that you go out there and get more. Thanks so much. Wishing you the best day. Let's go.